In my last audio, I discussed awareness, a dynamic theory of everything. How did you like that sharing in terms of coming to a greater understanding for yourself that awareness is subjective and that consciousness is objective? Subjective meaning awareness is an experience that you have that cannot be explained through one's external objective experience. That as awareness, as you just simply rest in your constant state of paradise, that is a subjective experience. And for you, it will be different than it is for me. But it's something that happens within yourself. It's not something that you can read about or know about objectively like consciousness. And so that's why consciousness is a con, because it's based on your objective experience, the experience of experiencing self from your external reflective reality. So that's why no one ever experiences consciousness even. For the first 2 years that I started doing radio on Blog Talk Radio, I started in 2010. I was interviewing authors on different fringe type of topics, and I just followed guidance. And so I interviewed people on areas of spirituality and dealing with emotions and consciousness, simply because I thought that what I was experiencing as I was going through my own personal metamorphosis was higher and higher states of consciousness. And so, because that's what I read and that's what I identified with. But one of the things that happened for me is as I was interviewing physicists and scientists who wrote these wonderful books, and paranormal authors who wrote books on consciousness, one of the things that came up quite often was these authors were sharing information on consciousness, but they had never experienced consciousness themselves, or higher states of consciousness, or exalted states of enlightenment. But they were writing about it. And so I came to the conclusion that it is a part of their process of coming to know self that they would write about consciousness but having never experienced it. And often they would ask me about my own experiences because I would share. And what I sensed and why I stopped doing radio was because people started to feel threatened by me. So I just figured I'm not going to make people feel uncomfortable asking questions about something they knew nothing about, but were writing about it. I didn't want to continue on that thread. Another thing that I found when I was interviewing individuals who had written these books, brilliant books, and they were esteemed in their profession, in the scientific community, is that they were, and one of the things that came up too is that they were subjected to only speaking about consciousness in terms of specific theories within the scientific community, and a number of them felt challenged by that because they were sensing on some level within themselves that there was discrepancies or a dichotomy that was showing up for them. And so I do remember interviewing one individual who I won't mention, saying that, some of the scientists found themselves going quite nutty or insane because they couldn't understand the contradictions that they had to follow within these theories. So it's quite interesting and quite revealing to see that within the scientific community, although they adhere to these theoretical positions that they must adhere to, they do grapple with their own conflict of what they may be believing or seeing for themselves through their own experience. So very interesting process that I found myself going through. Now looking back in retrospect, I can understand why I was so interested in learning more about consciousness and tying my own experience of evolving self as consciousness, I thought. But now I've totally blown that out of the water, thanks to coming to know self as awareness, being able to make the distinction between awareness and consciousness, and realizing that we are immersed in a system of consciousness. And this system of consciousness is going through a process or its own metamorphosis, which is quite astounding in that while I used to say there is a war on awareness, no, there's only a war within consciousness. There cannot be a war on awareness. As I bear witness, there is no war on awareness. It's a war within this consciousness system that has to perpetuate war on itself in order to circumvent any possibility of that which you are as awareness coming to know itself. It's captured within this consciousness system. It's just absolutely fascinating stuff here. So the hope is that within time we may come to know consciously the historical group narratives through the paranoid delusional imagery that proliferates our media. The power control force, they impose all these narratives, these scripts, onto the body of humanity and force us to buy into their themes, their narratives, like the collapse of authority leaders that we've seen over the years, the collapse of governments and our confidence in governmental authorities, such as presidents and senators. Things like idol worship, the sense of stars being like gods. This whole concept of awakening, living in end times. These are all themes. The Antichrist, the cosmic war between good and evil, the hero's journey, the death culture, wars and revolutions. These themes that play out over and over again. Only the delusional objects and themes change over time. So what I'm basically saying here and what I'm finding is that these themes are not new. They're new to us, in those of us who are going through this phase in our generation. But these themes play out over and over throughout history, and there can be referenced through historical documents that these narratives play out over and over again. But one can only come to realize that thanks to the internet, because back in the day, we didn't have this communication or technology in order to piece things together as we are now. People have been waking up to know themselves throughout history. It's a part of this consciousness system. But again, remember I said it's socially induced, but people were quietly doing it on their own and having their own experiences and probably really not talking about it. It's only thanks to technology that we can engage one another and come to know others like ourselves who may be experiencing some form of awakening that is coming to know themselves as awareness, or whatever it is that they're coming to know within this consciousness system. It could be only to the level or degree of knowing what what's happening or transpiring on the physical world stage. That is through the alternative media. And some people believe that is simply awakening. I'm talking about a much deeper awakening in terms of coming to know self as awareness. And there are others who are out there doing similar things to myself. But it's thanks to this technology that allows us to communicate what it is that we are experiencing. And like-minded individuals can come together and form community so that we can understand our collective, although it may be a small group, experience. And that's beautiful, because I honestly would have to say that when I experience my daily life, there is no one really out there who I can talk to. So I'm thankful for technology in that it certainly does provide a sense of comfort and ease that I can communicate what I'm experiencing and create a reality of my own choosing and of my own making. But it's only thanks to technology that we get to see that, these themes come up over and over and over again. So it's a pattern. It's a pattern that's playing out, and it's not new. And yet a lot of us, I know for myself and my generation, I was thinking, this is the first time in human history that we can come to know ourselves as awareness. It's not. It's not the first time in human history. So, and I realized that this isn't a war on awareness. This is a war on consciousness. And so, some of the things that I say may change over time, because as I become more aware, it just morphs into something new that I'm able to be aware of. And so it's like a flowering. It's like a metamorphosis. And when you come to know self as awareness, and it's not easy. It's not easy. So the goal, if there ever was a goal, is to identify these themes, these narratives that we unconsciously share and communicate and act upon together, and in order to decrease their delusional hold on us, in order to relieve the shared sense of feelings of inner chaos and rage they create within each of us. They create within each of us to disassociate, whether we are conscious of the disassociation or not. And this disassociation that is created through these narratives, these group narratives, is a form of self-hypnosis and seduces us into these trance states. And so when we come to the awareness, the greater awareness as awareness, we just rest in that position of witnessing. When we can do that, be in the witness position and identify these themes, these narratives that are unconsciously, that we share and communicate and act upon, that as we bear witness, we don't have to react or retaliate. We can become mature and come to know that in our maturity that we are bearing witness to a system which is simply a system of consciousness which is simply going mad. So the title of this sharing here is Awareness is not consciousness, and consciousness is not awareness. The description holds the link to this article that I posted on my blog. You can read it at your leisure. And at the end of this audio, I will provide a connection that you can make to know me through Facebook, where I share there as well. So awareness is not consciousness, and consciousness is not awareness. It is important to make the distinction in order to break the spell that you are under called mind control. Consciousness is an information stream of data. Some call it the Akashic record, the unified field of consciousness. However, it is an artificial mirror representation of awareness, which is the ultimate reality. In that consciousness masks itself as awareness in all its forms of information, such as sound, light, shape, color, language, and all the intellectual systems such as science, religion, psychology, astrology, and numerology. All these texts that have been written throughout history are fake. The majority of them are fake texts with bits of truth within them. But you have to understand that just like occult knowledge back in the day was a part of the controlled opposition in order to introduce information to humanity in such a way that it was deemed to be obscured from the masses and only available to a select few. So it became occult, hidden knowledge. And through this occult knowledge, it's very much like today we have the alternative media, which exposes the power control force, the Illuminati, in a way that, again, simply is disguising the truth. I don't for a minute believe in anything that the alternative media is sharing to us. It's all information that's being spoon-fed up to us in order to keep us in this perpetual lie and not knowing of the truth. And so texts are the same run on the same principle as alternative media and the occult knowledge, and that texts are used in order to provide disinformation, narratives in order to guide humanity in a specific direction, filled with some truth, but most of it fake knowledge. None of it really being of any truth or substance or sustenance for humanity to grasp on. Because remember, there's a war on consciousness, really, and within this consciousness system. And so they have to lie to you in order to keep the system going. They have to keep everything from you. And so all of this is for the purpose of conning your essence as awareness by creating matter in order to make you believe in your third dimensional artificial reality. So all these intellectual systems and matter itself, the physical world system in which we are immersed in, is this artificial intelligence or artificial reality that seduces your awareness into believing that all of this is real. If we define awareness as the ultimate reality and being the foundation of all existence in this universe, then awareness can have nothing outside itself other than itself or unlike itself by which to divide itself. Therefore, consequently, awareness is indivisible. And this is the oneness so often spoke about, but truly misunderstood. And this web of consciousness is a system of fragmentation. And there's no wholeness within this system. The awareness that you are is eternal and can be further defined as oneness or divine wisdom, which can only exist outside this universe. Awareness does not exist within this universe system of consciousness. It's fragmentation, because it can't. That is, awareness can't exist within fragmentation, due to the fact that it has been captured by a group of universal architects who call themselves God, and, along with their awareness and your awareness, they created this system of consciousness and did the unthinkable. They attempted to divide and conquer awareness, causing awareness to fragment. That's what they do within this system. They cause the awareness through their consciousness system to fragment into tiny pieces, which it does in order to create an artificial simulation of awareness called consciousness, whereby creating an artificial reality upon which you have your physical world life experience, and why humanity is going insane. This humanity is going insane through the mind, the thought, and the thought process that are not yours. They are created by the universal architects. The universal architects actually created everything in the universe. They, in fact, are the creators of creation. They created the brain, they created the body, the mind, the thought, and the thought process, all through the manipulation of light, which has nothing to do with awareness or oneness, but is designed to keep the universal consciousness or light or lie alive and well. Thought and light are the main drivers of this universe, and it is through mind, thought, and the thought process and light that the architects of this universe, the power control force, set up this existence called life based on the foundation of awareness that you are, and called it consciousness. However, you exist beyond mind. You exist beyond thought and the thought process and light, which translates into energy, which creates the illusion that everything you experience in your physical world is real. The concepts of mind, thought, and the thought process and light, which equals energy, is what has seduced you as awareness from your natural state into this universal architect's consciousness system. This is the divine truth. So in truth, awareness is the ultimate reality, and when you rest in your natural state as awareness, you simply rest in a constant state of paradise. And this is the true reality of who and what you are and always has been. Your essence as awareness is all-knowing and wise. You have not and never will separate from your original state. And as you exist as your essence, as awareness in your totality, right here, right now, you have the right to your sovereignty and freedom, and to create a reality of your own choosing and your own making. But just know that we are in the process of deconstructing consciousness. Never been done before, or I don't know anyone that's doing that. More and more individuals, especially in places of authority, they need to start doing this, deconstructing consciousness instead of being a scapegoat for this system of consciousness that they've been conned into. But I guess that won't happen until they come to know self as awareness. So as more people come to know self as awareness, which is my hope, they'll be able to participate in this deconstructing and dismantling of consciousness, because something, it's happening already anyway. I even know for myself that there are glitches within this mind-body construct in which I am experiencing this physical life experience. As I said in my video on the new movie Lucy that's coming out, and the statement that she makes, it's as if everything human is fading away. That's the deconstruction of this consciousness system. And that's what it feels like for me. It's like I'm hacking this consciousness system and coming to know self as awareness more and more. And what I'm noticing is, as I'm hacking the system, it's actually deconstructing on its own. It's self-destructing on its own. So it's quite a miraculous experience or scenario to be engaging in. It's so different. But I'm noticing real glitches in the system as I just rest as awareness and bear witness how the distortions come in, how the glitches happen within this consciousness system, and how I'm programmed and how the programming works and how I respond to the programming without being under massive hypnosis. It's like, wow. It's like watching a movie. As you watch yourself deconstruct consciousness. So notice what's happening for you. Notice if you're noticing new phenomena and anomalies within yourself. Notice if you are becoming more aware as you're experiencing these sharings. I don't know what's happening for you, but I welcome any feedback. And I hope that you are finding comfort here in the sharing, and that it's supporting you in your deconstructing consciousness so that you can come to know self as awareness. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.